Okay, great. So everyone, if you could just make sure that when you join, that you mute yourselves. Welcome everyone to the webinar. So I'm going to start because it's a lot of stuff to get into for the next 45 minutes. I'm just going to make sure, sorry, there's just some people still joining. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing. I want to show you what masculine energy looks like to me. So I'm going to share a little screenshot with you, and then I want you to basically just notice what this is and why it's why it's interesting. So the masculine energy to me is like the sun. It's essential for us. It's essential for our protection, energy, warmth, to be alive. In fact, our vegetables store all the sun's energy and we eat it. But at the same time, it can also be damaging. So it can cause harm, it can burn, it can radiate. So as with both energies and all energies, we find that the sun, masculine energy, has got both its powerful side and it's also got a side that can be harmful. So on the last webinar, I talked about female energy. So feminine energy, male and female, or masculine and feminine divine energy, has nothing to do with our gender. It's got to do with the yin and yang. So when you discover these things about yourself, you start looking around and then you start realizing actually a lot of people are into the same kind of things, what I call the flavor. So we all have a different way of connecting what makes sense to us. And through my own experience, I realized there's certain parts of me that are more aggressive, more dominant, more controlling, or in its healthy side, safe, protective, providing. And then I've got sides that are weak and victimhood and panicky and anxious, or very healthy boundaries, intuition, creativity, the beautiful side of these energies. So what I've realized is in my life that if these energies are out of balance, things start to go wrong, either in relationships, it can be with money, it can be with people, it can be with our health. So when we're very far on the polarity of these energies, that's when we feel things that can be harmful. So what I want to talk about today is a thing. I actually did a survey recently to see where people are. I did a survey to see which energy for them is dominant. And most of the people, I think, in fact, all of the people said they thought they were male dominant or masculine dominant, even though their results might not show that. Some of the results for people who thought they were masculine dominant were actually feminine. So femininity is more about our vulnerable side, the heart side, and masculine is about the head and the doing side. So I'll explain it a little bit more as I'm going through my slides. So I'm going to pop up a slide, and then after I've done the slide, I'm going to talk about the slide. So we're having this masculine energy webinar. Woohoo! Some of my artworks, which is my creative with my brain. So I'm mixing my head and my heart there. And when we basically looking at what this means in terms of an energy, masculine energy's quality. So I'm just going to read it and then I'm going to put myself back on the screen. I think I've put the wrong slide there. Oh no, it's the right slide. Okay. Masculine energy. So how does it identify? And a lot of you will resonate with this. It's the thinking part. Great with planning, great with organizing, great with making lists. It's all action-based. It's our doing energy. It's the thing that puts us into fire and drive and passion. And it's also the side that's responsible. It takes things seriously. It's our serious side, where our playful side's actually more in our feminine energy. It's also our giving. If you're one of those people that often say, I'm a giver, I give a lot, I find it hard to receive, that's when you're more dominant in your masculine energy, when we find it hard to actually get things, receive compliments, receive gifts, but we're very good at creating it for others. And then there's also the control, creating a safe place from security. Our masculine energy is there to help protect us, and so is our feminine, depending on when we use them. So when we're in our masculine energy, we are wanting to create a place of safety and security. So normally one of these energies kick in when we're experiencing some kind of a trauma. Oh, sorry, if just someone whose microphone's still on, if you can just turn it off, thanks. Then we've also got protection. And remember, I said this is not gender-based. So as a woman, I could be in my protective masculine energy. A lot of single moms step into that energy. And when they step into that energy, they become the protector provider. So a lot of the time you'll find single moms are actually very far into their masculine energy of protect and provide. The next one is provide, takes action to care, powerful, confident, lead lovingly, and guide. So I'm just going to stop sharing that for a second so you can see me again. So what I want to see, when you see masculine energy as these two sides of you that are living in the same body, when we are out of balance, we tend to attract sometimes people or experiences that want to bring the other side to show us that we need a balance between these two yin and yang, masculine, feminine, head, heart energies. And if you look outside in the world, there's always these mirrors to explain to us balance. We've got day and night, we've got summer and winter. How we experience ourselves in the world is always one or the other. There's choice, there's combination. And when you join these two energies, and they're very well balanced, we become unstoppable, basically. What I've realized in terms of myself and my personal experience of this, the moment I became, well, actually even before that, but definitely when I became a single mom, I stepped very much into my protect provide, because I had to become the provider and the main provider. So I stepped into doing, finding, creating, making money and all of this. But also what I found is that when you're too far into that masculine energy and you deny or neglect the feminine energy, things actually don't work out the way you want to. Especially at that point, and this was a few years ago, actually quite a few years ago, when it was just me and my firstborn, money was really, really difficult. And the more I worked and the harder I worked and the more I said, I just need to work harder, I just need to do more, I just need to create more, I started getting burnout, adrenal fatigue, and all of these things because I was just doing, never ever balancing it with the feminine energy of looking after, self-care, nurturing, creativity, intuition. It's almost like if you imagine the feminine energy is like the magic that you add to the structure, and then that combination, the synergy of these energies, is where all the stuff happens. The moment I started becoming more creative, and at that point I started doing art and more creative things, and how I was designing things and worked on my iPad. The moment I brought in my feminine to balance my masculine energy, what I started seeing was financial well-being. My health totally changed. I became softer, I became kinder instead of so hard and critical and judgmental. So I wanted to, through this webinar, also check in with yourself and figure out, what side are you on? Because when we're on the victimhood side, life is just happening to me, I have no control, I feel wounded, depressed, anxious, all of that. That's when we're in our feminine. And then you need to add some of the masculine energy, the doing energy, the practical energy, to balance that out. So I'm just going to share my screen again with you guys, just to go to the next slide. Sorry, just if someone also has got their mic on, just to turn that off. I can't actually see whose it's on. Okay, so now we know we've got this energy, but how is it caused? How do we get this? Why aren't we perfectly balanced? Well, as children, we are perfectly balanced. We are perfect little human beings coming into this experience, and then we start responding to our world. We start responding based on our primary caregivers. Our primary caregivers are the people who are looking after us at the time. So usually the primary caregiver initially would be the mom, and then after a few years we actually start looking towards the dads. The first 3 years is very feminine energy dominated, our loving energy, feeling loved, how to feel love, are we experiencing love? And a lot of it's got to do with the care. They found that, for instance, children who were orphaned and brought up in orphanages who had very little love, connection, touch, physical touch, all the loving energy in the beginning, really have serious mental issues. The way that their brain actually wires itself is wired from the prefrontal cortex to go into the negative, to work from depression, fear-based reactions. So the moment you withdraw love, you tip into protective mode, and this is where it can happen, where we can have wounded energies. So the wounded masculine energy is caused by controlling, traumatic, or abusive experiences in our past. These can be emotional, physical, or sexual. So just tick which ones you feel. Emotional abuse from masculine energy could be shouting, screaming, or even cold aloof, stonewalling, ignoring, not being present. Physical, being beaten, sexual abuse. It's obvious, that one. Neglect, not being seen, not being heard. And other trauma, and then growing up with a father with wounded. So a lot of the time it's passed down from generation to generation. So a father would have had an absent father. He would have stepped into a certain energy, either masculine or feminine energy, and then that's how he starts parenting. So with a father with wounded masculine energy, it can be passed on. The wound can come in many forms. Either the father is not present, or the father was abusive, or what is less spoken of is the father was too feminine. So I'm going to just touch on that once I've read the slide. We see the masculine as passive when it's wounded, and we deny our masculine energy, so we hide in the feminine world. So what does this mean to us? When we see what is supposed to be warm, safe, protector, provider energy, our safety net, our feeling good about our worth, being worthy, being seen, which comes from the dad energy, the masculine energy, if that's lacking, so your dad's always working, he didn't spend time with you, he was aggressive, violent, abusive towards you or your mother or anyone in the household, you would see that energy as dangerous. And when that energy is in your life, you'll find it as dangerous. So you will move way more into the feminine energy. And the feminine energy is there to protect you. It's there to comfort you. It's there to give you that. But what happens is we don't stay in the healthy feminine. We go into victimhood. Gets triggered by the trauma and we step into victimhood. Poor me. No one likes me. I'm unlovable. I'm unlikable. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. When I do something, I have zero confidence. I don't believe in myself. These are reactions to us not finding safety and warmth in the masculine energy. So can you see how these things are so influential when we look at who we are? Sometimes it also can be if the father was very much in his feminine energy, weak, not very confident, insecure, passive, victimhood, maybe even a very dominant mother figure, maybe controlling the relationship, and you see this weakened masculine energy, you would reject it and you'd say, either I need to be stronger than that, or I need to hide in my feminine energy. Now, sometimes you'll see how we decide is probably the magic bit about who we are, right? Our flavor. It's sometimes like you'll have a father who's an alcoholic and the children either become alcoholics or they reject it totally. So the same with these energies. You're either going to copy and repeat, or you're going to go and change it and do something totally different with that. So I want you to look in your life now and figure out, are you driven from your dominant energy as driving, organized, judgmental, critical, but also providing? You're doing all the stuff that is looking after yourself. You're keeping yourself or your people in your family safe. Are you continuously thinking? Are you struggling to sleep at night because you're lying there having thoughts going on and on and on in your head? And then when you might be in a relationship with someone, with a partner, you might drop way into your feminine energy. You might be victimhood. They don't love me. They don't care for me. Jealousy, insecurity, no confidence, feeling weak, feeling vulnerable, continuously just wanting to fill this void of love. So even within the construct, we can be dominant in our career, in our masculine energy, and be very successful that way. But in our relationships, we might be wounded and step into our feminine. Both these energies are there for our protection because it's trying to heal the trauma that we experienced. The experience of abandonment, physical abuse, sexual abuse, especially if there's sexual abuse as well, where it's from the dominant energy. A lot of women actually step into their masculine, not their feminine, to protect themselves. So they become more aggressive, they become more protective, they reject femininity. Femininity is seen as weak and vulnerable, and they sometimes blame the feminine energy for putting them in that situation. But actually, we can't dictate what happens in sexual abuse. The person is never at fault. It happens normally to very young children who are basically taken advantage of by someone who is older, who knows better. But they might be in their wounded masculine, aggressive, controlling, violent, internalized. In order for them to live out control, they then use sexual abuse to control what they're feeling inside. And so the people who are from sexual abuse tend to reject their feminine energy and actually step very much into their masculine. And it happens also in their relationships. And then they draw the feminine energy as a balance. So sometimes when you're very masculine, which I was for a very, very long time, very masculine, very dominant, very controlling, defensive in my relationships, I was attracting very feminine men, very soft, very kind, but also lacking drive, lacking ambition, lacking that masculine, that energy. And so I had to learn that I need to get closer to the middle, and what you attract here is very, very different. So let's just look at the next one. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this as well so you can see. So these are the things that you are going to notice in your masculine energy if it is wounded. If you don't like that energy and you go away from it, you reject it, something's happened to you, the masculine energy was dangerous, you'll see it here. You see masculine energy as dangerous. You are more in your feminine behavior, so victimhood, poor me, depression, anxiety, highly emotional. So also see if there's anyone in your family, parents maybe, that are resonating with these things, even in their own dynamic as mom and dad. Lacks drive, ambition, or passion, people who don't follow their dreams, who don't live out what they truly want, who are not really following the path that they want because they fear that they'll never get there, that they're not good enough. People who are passive have wounded masculine energy, fearful, scared, weak, indecisive. This is a big one. Can't make decisions, always need someone else to tell you what to do or how to do it. Lacks ambition, motivation, or direction. So people who procrastinate a lot instead of go-getters are very much in their feminine, rejecting the masculine energy. They can also be soft-spoken, or they have no voice. They can't stand up for themselves. They don't have boundaries and find it really hard to say no. The powerful feminine energy is great. She's the boundary keeper. She's the one who says that this is the line and no further, in a beautiful and loving way. The masculine energy also has boundaries, but in a more aggressive and confrontational way. Nervous, anxious, or depressed, all signs again of stepping into your feminine to get away from the masculine energy. Victimhood, always tired, always wanting to take naps, wanting to sleep, wanting to avoid life, not take action, not take the things on that are serious or that needs to get done, avoid difficult conversations, and they are in flight. So if you can also imagine that your feminine energy is flight and your masculine energy is fight at its extremes. And again, we want to get to that balance. So now I want to just talk a little bit about how do you get into balance. Now we know, I know, and I knew and I discovered about myself that the moment I'm in a relationship based on childhood trauma, not from my parents, luckily, but from experiences, bullying, and things that happened as a child, the masculine energy became dangerous to me. It was unpredictable, it wasn't safe, it wasn't the protector provider energy. And so I stepped into my protective masculine. And I held my ground. I became quite hard, quite very good at my career, very driven, very ambitious, but I lost a lot of my femininity because I saw feminine energy as weak and pathetic. Those are the words I actually labeled feminine energy with. It's weak and pathetic. I'm not like that. I'm a tough cookie. I know what I'm doing. So what happened in relationships, I would always be the driving force. I would be the one who says, this is how it is, this is what I want, this is how the relationship is going to go. And of course, that's not very pleasant for the other person. So now that I'm older, I realized where I went wrong and how many times I see that to bring the balance in is where we heal. When I stepped into receiving more of the feminine and realizing feminine is actually not weak. Feminine is this beautiful, creative, extremely powerful source that is connected to almost the magical part of life, where the belief happens, where our dreams become a reality, where the things that we create in the masculine energy gets infused to actually become a manifestation, to create the manifestation. So if you're struggling with manifestation, if you're struggling with, but I'm sitting and I'm doing my mantras and I'm doing all this stuff and you're doing, partly what you're missing is the surrender, the letting go, the bit where you just go, I'm actually going to be doing nothing. I'm going to write out what I want to do. I'm going to set the intention and then I'm going to magically attract that to me. And that receiving is where we go into our feminine. I had to learn that through all the different things. So feminine energy is where you go into creative, intuition, water, the flow, where masculine energy is the fire. Now, if you're in your wounded feminine energy, you're going to need more masculine energy. You're going to have to start doing stuff. And that sounds pretty scary if you are living from victimhood, fear, being passive, not wanting to do stuff, scared of doing stuff, scared of going out, scared of meeting new people, scared of life, scared of going for the job you truly want, scared of going back into the field of relationships, scared of breaking relationships that are toxic to you, not being able to do it, being stuck. So when you look at these things and you realize which side you are on, which side you need to balance, it's good to start looking at the other energies. So if you need to increase your masculine energy, you need to start doing things. You need to step into the uncomfortable space of fear. Fear inhibits all action. It just keeps you in a tiny little safe space because that's what it's learned. It's learned, in order for me to be protected, let me not go out into the world. Let me not go and speak to that person. Let me not go and ask for a raise. Let me not tell the person in my relationship I want to break up. All of these things just keep you in a state of fear. So when you get to that state where you know in your heart, your intuition has kicked in, your intuition has said, you're not happy with your job, you're not happy in this relationship, your money isn't doing really well, we need to do something, your intuition, your feminine energy, your emotions have kicked in, then you need to start creating the plan and the masculine energy. What am I going to do? What do I do about this? Then you need to bring the structure. So if you can almost imagine the world, all the structures and the architecture and the building and the machines and all of that is this beautiful masculine energy. That's the practical stuff that we need. And then you mix it with the beauty of nature. And when you combine them, suddenly that's where things flow. When I started balancing my very driven masculine planning, making things, creating things, very driven in my career, doing my work, when I suddenly started balancing it with my feminine, my creative side, literally taking days off in a week where I would just do art. And at first that was really difficult because I was like, you should be working right now. Why are you doing art? Are you crazy? And that's the head, right? Going crazy. And then I go like, I'm in my feminine. And it took me a while to shift into that. And when I did, the magic started happening. I started feeling very different. I started feeling more rounded, more soft. I had more patience. I wasn't in fight or flight the whole time. I didn't feel as stressed. Things started flowing, and around me, the environment started changing. I started noticing little things in nature way more. Animals and rain and sunshine, just moments, beauty. Life became way more beautiful when I was actually tapping into my feminine to balance this really aggressive masculine energy. And also what I found is that my money changed. And this is the thing that I really wanted it to change. I wanted to expand. I wanted to be greater so I can look after better. And I was doing as much as I could. And I was like, but I'm working so hard. Why is it not happening? Because I missed the magic part of the feminine. The moment I added that, and this is true, I'm not going to show you my bank account, but it's true. When I started doing that, within a month, I had doubled my income. And that was the byproduct of adding the magical mixture. I hadn't done that before. I was only doing. Or you could just be in passive. I'm thinking, I'm feeling I should change these things, and I feel I should, and I feel, but I'm not really taking any action. You're not going to get there either. The magic synergy is combining these two energies. Then we become super powerful. And I want you to practice this. I want you to try it out so you can see it for yourself. Because I can sit here and tell you this is how it is, but you've got to actually practically do it for yourself to see the difference in your own life. And then you'll see why I'm talking about this and why I'm so passionate about it. I'm really passionate about this because I want everyone to get this, because I think it's partly where things go wrong in life. It's where we actually don't balance these energies. So this is the top 3 wounds. Having a father or male role model wounded in the masculine. So again, just looking at your past, have you got a beautiful role model for the masculine energy that you can find your safety in? Experiencing lack of attention, being invisible or abandoned. Abandoning from the father figure is pretty severe. Wasn't allowed to express anger, voice your opinion, very avoidant of confrontation. So again, I want to share we can have the most wonderful, loving parents. And I was very lucky I did. But that doesn't mean we don't suffer some kind of trauma, pain, sadness, loneliness, in those moments through our parenting or through school or through the things that are happening to us, bullying or whatever. So like I said in the beginning, the first 3 years is the feminine energy's chance. It's the love, how we feel love, how we experience love, how we cuddled, whether we like cuddles or whether we were left maybe in a cot, maybe the difference between breast and bottle feeding. These things actually do have an impact on us and how we respond to whether we're lovable or not, or who we need to be. Maybe in your family you have siblings where one is very quiet and you decided to be the loud one so you could be noticed, so you could be seen. And then from 3 to 6, we have our dominant focus on the masculine energy and our worth, self-worth. Am I good enough? And you'll see children doing it a lot, and I want you to almost pay attention when you see little kids now. Between the age of 3, 6, and a little bit up from that, they go, look at me, and they want validation, they want to be seen, they want to start doing things on their own, they create their own independence. I do it myself, I'll put on my shoes, I can do this, I can ride my bike, they don't want support anymore, but they want to be seen. And if you're not seen in that moment, you start feeling abandonment, you start feeling no one notices you, you're not good enough. If you were only prettier, smarter, a boy, a girl, this way, that way, then you'd be noticed, then someone would see you, then someone would love you. So you start having these experiences. Then you might get to school and someone says something about how good you are or how bad you are at something, and suddenly you make up things about yourself or about the world. I'm not good at math, I'm not good at making friends, I'm shy, I don't have confidence. And then these belief systems eventually shape your entire world. When I work with my clients, it's always fascinating to see how something when they were small projected them to where they are now in their 30s or 40s. And to use an example of myself, I grew up with, I don't need anyone. I'm very independent. I can look after myself. I'm super strong. I'm kind of like the tough guy. And that's how I went through most of my life, choosing careers where I didn't have to work for someone. I didn't have to get in a position. I worked for myself. I had my own film production company. I'm still working for myself. I'm still living out. I don't really need anyone. And sometimes that also filters through into relationships. I don't need people. I'm good on my own. And it actually stems from wounds from childhood where you felt like there was no one there for you. There was no one there to stand up for you, to protect you, to step into that space. And a lot of that actually had to do with bullying at school. Being bullied at school really had an impact on, there's no one to protect me. I didn't have a voice. I couldn't stand up to these people. And what you wanted to do is have someone step in on your behalf, which isn't always possible because we didn't always share these things with our parents. So I want you to look in your own life currently, which energy are you predominantly in? Are you balanced? Nice. Are you creating beautiful magic in your life, in your relationships, in your work, in your money? Or is there a side of you that's a little bit wounded? And I want you to see that when we bring the balance, there really is healing. When we bring the balance and we come closer to the middle and we don't reject either of them, we don't have negative views of either of them, we see each side's beauty and we combine it, that's where we heal and that's where we become really, really good at life and the stuff we're doing in life. So I want to, basically that's in a nutshell, the masculine energy. I want to take anyone who, I did it last time and I kind of left it a little bit late. I want to use the next few minutes to accept anyone who has a question or who has a comment about where they are now, whether they're in their masculine, whether they're in their feminine. So I can just guide anyone who's got a question, or you can even type it in the text box if you don't want to speak, or you can unmute yourself and just ask me a question. I'm just going to open the chat window for myself to see if anyone has a question about these energies. Looks like you guys are all pretty balanced. Lucky for you.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Hi, I'm Lorraine. Yeah, this was really interesting because this is stuff I've been thinking about also for decades. Very fascinated by this balance thing. But the way you put it across was very interesting because I had an insight from that. And that's that I just have to speak not too loudly, but I had a bit of a weak father. He was very wounded in his own life, actually a war orphan, and he became an alcoholic. And so definitely I responded to that with the, oh, well, I'm going to be much stronger than that. So I definitely got into my masculine side. Yeah, I'll just put my video on as well. Got into my masculine side a lot. Also rejected the feminine. Oh God, that's so pathetic. Who'd want to be like that? You know,
Yes.
and the world also thinks it's pathetic. So why the hell would I be all feminine and be a loser? You know,
Yes.
just to suit
Yes.
the world. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. So that was like also for me so true. But then later on, I got into more spiritual stuff and started developing myself as a whole person and really started to integrate the feminine side more. But I still struggle to make money. And
Okay.
I'm still in that doing
You
thing.
know what it is, Lorraine? I'm going to give you a tip as what worked for me.
Yes.
So when I struggled, and being a single mom, you think, I can't drop the ball because these are my kids, right? If I drop the ball, we don't have a place to live. This is serious,
Right.
right? Very, very
Pretty
masculine,
much.
very protective,
Yes.
very dominant. So for anyone in the masculine to say to them, you need to do less was insanity. It was insanity to me because it said, are you effing mad? I can't not be doing something. I need more jobs. I need to be doing more stuff. There was a point I was doing 5 different jobs just to keep
Yeah.
going. And I was working all weekend, all hours. And what do you think happened to my children? the ones that I was like
Same.
doing this all for. I
Right.
don't have time for you, not now. Can you go and play? Can you quickly? Mommy's just quickly going to. That line was used all the time. I'm quickly going to
Right.
do this. The moment I
Right.
realized I was doing all of this and still not making money, something was wrong. I couldn't do any more, and there was not enough time for me to do more. I was at maximum capacity, yet my finances did not reflect the amount of effort I was putting in. And I started
Right.
investigating the masculine feminine energy. It came as an inspiration, and then I started reading up about it. Then I thought, screw it. I have to try it because there's nothing else for me to do. I can't not do this. I can't not try it because there's nothing else. What do I do now? And this is
Right.
normally, we get to a
Exactly.
pivotal point, we get to a baseline where we suddenly realize something's got to shift because whatever I'm doing isn't working. Then the
Right.
moment, it's like jumping. I had to stand on a cliff and jump thinking I was going to die now. I'm destroying my entire family if I'm going to start having long baths, walking on the beach, dancing in my lounge, making art, and being all like, oh, awesome, this is great. I'm in my feminine energy. I'm going to be making money. This is great. I thought, this is
Right.
crazy. This is crazy. And this is what the head
Right.
thinks, right? Of the heart. The head thinks the heart is crazy. And the heart thinks, oh, you head, if you only knew the magic I can create.
You're so clueless, right?
Yeah. And I jumped. I jumped. And in that moment, I had to shift my belief system from I'm falling to I'm flying. And it is a shift. It is a surrender. And that only feminine energy can give you. The moment you realize, and I use it with my clients, I'll say, you are a leaf in the river of life. You don't need to know how the river functions. You don't need to know the physics of water. You don't need to know where the river leads. You just need to be in it. And I had to stop doing 50 billion things. I had to cut down. And that sounds crazy because you think I need to be doing more. Doesn't work that way. There's no magic in doing more. You've already done as much as you can. So the magic happens when I started having baths. Sounds crazy. Water, being in water, taking cold ocean dips, which I absolutely hate it because I like being warm. Getting into cacao rituals. I started learning about feminine energy, heart healing. I started looking at why my masculine energy was so dominant. What is the trauma that triggered me into protection? And what I realized when I triggered into my protection, it was to keep me safe. That's why I went into my masculine. So the moment I started doing this feminine, and this is no lie. Some of my clients will know because I recommend this to them. I've got headset and I put it on and I dance. I dance in my lounge and
Wow.
I'm in my physical body. I'm out of my head. I literally get out of my head. I don't think about my head. Close my eyes and I dance. Sometimes I incorporate my kids. My teenager refuses. My 4-year-old, super keen. She loves it. We put on music and we dance. And I teach her as well to be in her feminine, right? Instead of this protective, aggressive masculine.
That's my sweetie. My
Hi.
baby.
So when
It's okay.
that's fine. So when you drop into, you've got to surrender. There's going to be a moment where you're
Yes.
going to go, this is not going to work. This is crazy. That's exactly when you jump. That's
Right.
exactly when you say, this is what I'm doing. And it's now because I force myself. Yesterday, the whole day, all I did was make creative stuff. I work with alcohol ink, which is probably the least controllable substance on the planet. Very, very
Oh,
feminine to me because
wow.
what do I want to do? I want to control the process with my masculine. So I
Right.
chose one of the most difficult ways of because
Right.
alcohol ink you cannot control. It flows and 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 you're like, oh, okay. It's
Wow.
just
Okay.
great.
There it
And
goes.
when I do that, what you'll see is suddenly the next day, and money comes in strange ways. I used to think it just comes from income, but suddenly I would win something. I won a 15,000 Rand retreat stepping into my feminine energy. I won
Oh,
gifts. People would be sending me stuff. I'd go into a shop and they suddenly say, "Oh, did you realize this is actually marked off 50%?" I'm like, "No,
right,
but it's not marked
right,
off on the thing." You will find it
right.
coming to you, people gifting you
Yes.
things, people sharing things, giving you stuff for free. On that retreat that I won, I
Oh,
also won this lady won a social media award, and she said, "I don't want it. I'm going to give it to Nadia." So I won another thing while I was
oh,
on
so cool.
this retreat.
Wow.
But the retreat was all about journaling, writing, swimming, being
Yes.
present, dancing. It was
Wow.
a really, really beautiful Smiling Soul retreat where I went into my feminine energy. You have to keep working at keeping this balance. And then
Mm,
now I'm so mindful. The moment I realize, oh shit, I've now been working really hard for a week, I have to stop. That day I put everything away. I get my kids or I get something that I love doing. Baking can be creative, gardening can be
mm,
creative.
mm.
Creativity is
Yes.
not necessarily just art. I just love art. So I like
Mm.
being in the creation of making something from nothing, but literally anything can be creative, but also journaling. Journaling has got this
Yeah.
amazing connection between the chaos that's going on
Yeah.
here and putting it in fluidity of understanding and word. So does that
Yes.
make
I
sense?
use
You've got
that a
to
lot.
jump.
Yes. 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 I like that. Jump and float, did you
And
say, right?
fly and you go
Fly,
for it.
fly.
But you've got
Yeah.
to trust. The faith comes, and faith has got to do with your feminine energy, faith and belief in the magic,
Right.
all the stuff you almost can't see that's not
Yes.
tangible. Then
Yes.
you drop
Yes.
into.
Exactly. Thank you very much. That's lovely.
Thanks,
I love
Lorraine.
that. Yeah.
We've got a few more minutes. If anyone's got a question or something that they're going through that they want to ask me, you can type or you can unmute yourself. So you can see how these things are actually amazing. And the next webinar I'm going to be doing is a fun one, relationships. So even if you're in a magical relationship, I bet you you're tipping into one or the other. And I've got a lot of experience with messed up relationships. So I know where it went wrong for me and what I needed to do to create something else. So when we in either of these, I wanted to, the takeaway almost from the session is we need both. But somewhere along the line, one of these energies came to us and we looked at it as too violent, aggressive, dominant, or too weak and pathetic. And in that moment, we changed who we are. I had a client, for instance, who suffered really, really, really bad sexual abuse from a parent. And what she decided is to reject femininity completely. She actually went into eating disorders. So she rejected her body, she rejected femininity, she cut off all her hair. She decided that men were unsafe. She went and in terms of her sexuality, changed what she was attracted to. Where she initially liked men, she shifted over into liking women because the masculine energy to her was so super, super, super dangerous, so violent, so destructive, so chaotic. She needed to step into her own masculine energy to protect and provide for herself. So you can see how these wounds can really shape our entire existence of who we are and how we occur in the world. But there is hope. Everything we have here, and what I've realized is the moment you bring these two parts together is where you find a lot more inner peace. I used to be super stressed, always like feeling like I couldn't sit still. I couldn't because I was always doing, cleaning, doing. And if I had to sit, I thought I was lazy. I couldn't be in my feminine. My feminine was lazy, weak, pathetic. And now I understand it's warm, it's soft, it's nurturing, it's loving, it's sweet, it's caring, and it brings all the magic to do the stuff that I really want to do. So I want to wish you all, and I wanted to look at how can you bring the balance into whichever side you are on. How can you bring it together? How can you bring the balance of these energies so you feel better and you thrive? You thrive, health thrives, your energy thrives, your money thrives, your kids, your life, your relationships. They're all thriving because you are balanced. You're in harmony. You're in balance with nature. You're in balance with earth. You're in balance with yourself. And those are the most important things, because obviously we don't want to be here just suffering and struggling. That's what we definitely don't want any more of. So basically, that's my closing statement. I want to thank all of you and the new people and the people from abroad. Some men here today. Again, thank you for coming. And you're also from abroad, 2 guys from abroad also. And my regulars, you are my number buddies and people. I want to thank you for coming today. I will be placing this recording on YouTube so you can watch it again, or you can share it with other people. And please let me know and sign up on my website, www.nadiabrand.com/join, to join the Empire of Love, my little creation of creating a life that is just liberating, thriving, feeling good, connecting with people who are on the same wavelength, and a place where I just share a lot about who I am and my experiences. So I'm going to post that, and you can link, and then you can join my next one in 2 weeks' time, which is going to be relationships. It's a nice one. It's a juicy one. So I just want to thank all of you. Thank you for coming. And if you want to unmute yourself to say goodbye to me, you can, or show me a little video, you can, or you can just go. So that's the end, you guys. Thank you.
Bye, Nadia. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Number buddy.
Hey, number buddy. Glad you could make it.
Bye.
Thanks, Nadia.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Claire. I didn't know you were here. Nice. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Okay.